Hey friends, welcome to Your Story Matters podcast. My name is Michaela, and I am so happy you're here. My hope for this show is that we experience the power of storytelling and understand that we are the main characters in our story so that we can live as our truly authentic selves. You're in the right place to hear real stories that will challenge, inspire, and encourage you on your personal growth journey. I hope you enjoy. My guest today is Myndee Mack. Myndee is a self-described pragmatic mystist who weaves together her work as an author, tarot reader, marketing consultant, and widowed mom of 3. With warmth, humor, and heart, she helps women find magic in the everyday, whether through ritual, reflection, or reclaiming joy in the ordinary. Her 2 books, including The Life-Changing Magic of Self-Love and Domestic Goddess, explore what it means to live intentionally, love yourself deeply, and turn daily life into something sacred. Beyond writing, Myndee has spent more than 15 years helping small businesses and creatives share their gifts through authentic, intuitive marketing. She believes that presence is power, community is medicine, and with the right intention, even the most mundane moments can be magical. Here's my conversation with Myndee. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Your Story Matters podcast. I am so happy that you have taken time out of your day to spend it with me, and I am equally, if not more, happy to be spending time with my new friend, Myndee. Myndee, welcome to Your Story Matters.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good. I'm so excited. We're just going to jump right in because we don't mess around here. So, Myndee, what is your story?
Oof. I almost feel like I should answer that question with a question and say, which one?
Yeah.
I'll try to roll it all into one. So I grew up super evangelical religious, was born into that faith system. And until I was 38, 39, I believed wholeheartedly that, that doctrine that God made us, we are sinners, Jesus died for us, and you have to believe in that to go to heaven. And I started questioning things when I started having kids, which was years before I fully broke away from it. But when I broke away from it, I feel like that's where things really pick up for me. And I just had like a real glass shatter moment where I came to the realization that everything I had believed, the foundations of which I walked on, were not true. They were not accurate. They did not align with anything that I felt to be good and true and love. So everything I knew just crumbled. And my husband had gone through something similar, much less severe. He was, he just kind of had like a shallow journey through it. So he was already on the other side. So that was helpful. And then that same year, he gave me a tarot deck for my birthday. And I didn't know much about tarot. I grew up in New Orleans, so it was around, but it was forbidden. It was, scary. I'd always been interested in that and in anything mystical, and would watch any show that I was allowed to, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch or stuff like that. But I couldn't really explore anything that wasn't Christian. It didn't matter if it was that or not. But that was probably one of the worst things, right, that I could have been into. And when I got this deck, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about tarot cards, but I knew that it was for me. I knew, like how they say, when you know, you know. It was instant. I felt like I needed to get to know those cards and have reverence for those cards, not worship, not think of them as a deity or anything of that nature, but have reverence for them. So I became a tarot reader shortly thereafter. It took a while of study and practice, doing a lot of trades and reading for friends and family. And I still do that. But I started building a business. I started seeing tarot clients. I was writing. I was on track to publish a book about self-love. And in 2022, my husband died tragically and unexpectedly. We had no idea. He went on a trip and didn't come home. And that just stopped everything, my whole world. All I could do was get from one day to the next, get my kids from one day to the next. And for a while, I barely did that. So there's been a lot of, it's like the mourning, the grieving, all of that, it doesn't stop. We're going to have this lifelong, but we've been able to, through therapy, tarot, friends, time, we've been able to come out, I guess, on some sort of the other side. And I started doing readings more again and, wanting to turn that into something that I do for a living. Um, because it's my favorite thing in the world, really, to do. It's one of those things I would do if I didn't have to work, don't have to make money. I don't really make money off of it right now, and I do it. But it would be nice to have that be able to sustain me and give me the freedom to be here with my kids, since it is just me. And so that is kind of what led me to you, to be here, to share, to connect with you and meet your audience.
So much to go into here with your story. Thank you for sharing. I also grew up evangelical, and I think it was probably 2021. Pandemic didn't help anything, of course.
Sure.
But I think over the course of my life, I just always questioned, and things of a mystical, uber spiritual on the other side of the train tracks, if you will, was always just like woo woo. We don't touch that. And it is so interesting, kind of once you make your choices in life, to kind of go to the one thing that was always deemed bad. But there's good and bad in everything. So I want to ask, first off, coming from such a religious, doctrinated upbringing, what about that aspect of faith? Did you take anything with you? Or did we kind of just start from the ground up with reconstructing our belief systems?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I took my reverence for the holy. I took my love for my neighbor.
Mm,
And I'm sure there's other things, because
yeah.
as much the foundation and belief system cracked, I'm sure it has helped shape what I believe now and
Mm.
how I got, how I hold, or honestly, it's how loosely I hold the beliefs that I have now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I always like asking that question because we never really completely walk away from something, in the sense that you're born, you're raised in, and like, I know nothing else, right? There were no other options available, probably same to you. And I do take a couple things with just the ideas and the sentiments and all of that, but it's like, with how big the world is, there's just space for a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of room for things that we haven't given opportunity for there to be room. And I think everything can work together. Maybe not in a perfect balance, right? But like, there's just room for everything, I think. So the table is big enough. Our
Yeah.
human curiosity is big enough to entertain, like, what if, and I think just being curious and trying things and what ultimately makes sense, right? Because it's funny, it was always preached as like a personal relationship, right? But as soon as that personal became public, then it was shamed because it didn't look like everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what if? What if you could add a couple things in, you know what I mean? Like, we're creating our own pie, cake, salad, whatever, And so the different ingredients that might work for some, don't work for all. So I feel you on a heart level of of figuring out as much as we can what makes sense and what doesn't. So I'll ask this, like, what about the holy and the mystical kind of made sense? I don't know if that's the right question, but the sentiment is just kind of what felt right about that, as opposed to what you had been with.
I think really just being able to experience life and see the
Mm,
mountains and sunset and the stars, the heavens. It makes me want to treat this life as sacred. And I don't need a dogma to give me that. If anything, I believe the evangelical religion I grew up with took that from me.
So as we're stepping into the world of mysticism and tarot and all of these fun things, what are some myths about tarot that you can kind of demystify for us? If we think one thing, is it true? Like, bust those myths for us. What do we know about it that's actually not true, and then fill us in with what is?
Okay, so it's not scary. It's not demonic. I think anything could be, if you wanted to go that route, anything could be dark and evil, even Christianity. And we see evidence of that all the time. So it's maybe there are people that use it in ways that I wouldn't, but it doesn't make the practice dark. It is a lot more practical than, at least the way I read, than a lot of people would think. I don't do quote unquote fortune telling. I'm not going to sit down with you and tell you what the cards see in your future unless it sort of comes up organically, because I don't even believe that the future is written. So maybe some things are etched into fate, but we don't. I could close the laptop and end the podcast right now, and like we can change things. So it's not to me, whenever I sit with somebody, they're like, oh, this person read my cards and they told me I was going to get in a car accident. And I'm like, really? 9 times out of 10. Perhaps there are times when that is a good warning for somebody to stop texting and driving or something. Who knows? But generally
Sure. Yeah.
speaking, to me, the fortune telling isn't even the magic of tarot. You are the magic of tarot.
That's good. The cards have always looked so pretty. I'd never had a reading or anything before, but I've seen different like decks and stuff over the years, and it's like, this just looks very cool. But again, you have your upbringing of like, no, you have to stay away. And it's always like, why? And there was never a good answer, right? For all the whys. And it's one of those where you have to kind of experience it yourself of like, oh, this isn't anything like the scary, surroundings that it used to have, which is so funny. You mentioned that 2022 was a very hard year. How did mysticism help? And I say that as a very broad brushstroke, but how did that help with the loss of your husband?
It helped tremendously, and not to keep comparing, but if I had been an evangelical and had been a person that believed if you weren't saved, you'd go to hell, I would be grappling with the fact that my husband was in hell right now. And so just letting go of that was helpful. And as far as the mystical, I think just being at a place where I was comfortable with my beliefs, which are fluid, because it's really hard to sit with me and say everything happens for a reason. It's really hard, especially when people sit and talk about their miracles and how God saved them. It's like, well, but feeling like I've come to believe that somehow on some level, this was always the plan, not how, not everything about it, but it was like, I do kind of have a sense that, okay, even though he didn't choose to exit, it's like before we were incarnated, he probably did. We probably have a timeline that we don't know here in this life. But I also feel like if it was just a random freak accident and terrible tragedies happen with no meaning, that's okay too. And we are finding meaning and we are finding purpose and we are continuing on. So that's what I mean about I don't hold anything too tightly. Have the freedom to consider various viewpoints and aspects and, kind of wrestle with them because they can be contradictory. But I don't have to believe that everything happens for a reason or that this was God's plan. I could say this was perhaps his own plan. But
I think it's so interesting that he had given you the tarot deck for your birthday, before 2022. You had said that, and that kind of just struck me as whether he knew or not, there's something to that as far as, passing a torch, if you will, of something that can be sustainable and life-giving. So that just struck me as, I don't think that's a coincidence,
right.
of something now that means a whole lot to you and you didn't know and you had to learn and rediscover. And I think that's cool. I think that's cool when I don't know a lot of things, but sometimes there's just little nods of
Yeah.
someone, something, somehow we're being looked after, even in the littlest of ways, and knowing how big of an impact that it's having on your life and the life of others is kind of just a nice little nod from him, I think. And forgive me if I'm overstepping.
No,
That's just kind of what struck me as you were sharing that.
it's been a continuous source of comfort in a way.
Yeah.
I guess that's also the answer to your question about how has the metaphysical helped. It's like that connection, I still use the same deck that he gave me, you know?
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
incredibly helpful in that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. You have written a couple of books. And I would love to talk about them.
Okay.
I love having writers on here. I love hearing people's processes. So you have two books, The Life Changing Magic of Self Love and Domestic Goddess. So we could talk about both, one or the other. But first, to kind of set everything up, did you kind of always have this, I would like to write someday? Or did it just come from a place of, wowza, there is something I have to say at this moment in time where I didn't have words then? What was the process like of, I think I need to do this?
I have always been a writer. Before I was anything, I was a writer. I wrote stories in crayon when I was little.
Oh,
I've kept journals since I was probably 10 or 11. So writing is how I process, how I heal, how I communicate, how I make sense of the world. Sometimes I don't know what I'm thinking or feeling until I see it. And through that story, one of the things woven in was inside of evangelical Christianity, I was taught to hate and reject everything about me. We were sinners. We were filthy rags. We were tattered roses. Our hearts were deceitful and desperately wicked. And I think because I was a person who was not actually like that, I really grappled with that. It really, that's like the last thing I'd want to do and be. And so I spent most of that time like not liking who I was, not wanting to look at myself in the mirror. Like I just really, really didn't like me. And then through that deconstruction process and that eventual glass shatter moment, it's like I was on this parallel journey of self-love, and a friend of mine had introduced me to Brene Brown and like her work. And I started listening to that, and she led me down like that. Her work led me to other people's work, and I started exploring different religious things and different religious texts and different books about self-love, and then was found tarot. So it all kind of converged in like a moment. The moment lasted about a year, but it was like, you don't believe what you believe anymore. You don't hate yourself anymore. You don't practice what you used to practice. You don't even know your identity because you could only have been straight. So there was no other option. Now there's options, right? So through all of that, I learned self love and acceptance. And that's where the life changing magic of self love was born, because especially at the time I started writing it, I think in 2019 or 2020, before the pandemic. I was trying to help people like me who probably had never even considered that they could love themselves. And that project was put on hold when my husband died. But I just published it in 2023. And then as far as like writing books, I did kind of wonder, like I've written some other stuff here and there, but I kind of wondered if that was it. And if, that was all I had in me. But then I guess it was late last year or sometime into around the fall of 2024, I had this idea to write about what I had been doing, which was just trying to make every day meaningful, make every day, every stupid little things we have to do become things I get to do, and turning my routines into rituals. And like, I've been doing that, and it's given me such a different outlook on life, where
yeah.
like running errands has become taking field trips. And like, it's like folding laundry is a privilege and an opportunity to slow down and literally just do that. 'Cause you can't scroll your phone when you're folding clothes.
You're right.
So I just slow down and get it, set my intentions or practice gratitude during those times. I even pray before I eat now, but not every time. And I don't feel bad if I don't, because it's not a religious thing. It's just an opportunity to show gratitude. So I wrote all that stuff in that book and released it earlier this year.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you think keeps us from finding meaning in the mundane?
I mean, we're not taught to. We don't
Mm,
have good example of it. We're so busy. for the most part, even, successful online entrepreneurs are, go and go and go, and parents are go and go and go, and society has us busy. And I think the very nature of something being a routine is that it's mindless and you don't think about it. But now I get to appreciate it, and I hope to help others learn to appreciate it in a very gentle, I'm not yelling at anybody saying this is the way and this will make you happy. It's like, look at these opportunities for magic.
That's so good. And I think when we look at media or books, they always kind of talk about magic as being something, yes, otherworldly, but almost to the point of like it existed once long ago and we just have like whispers of the wind of it or something. But yeah, the fact that we get to eat 3 square meals a day, nuanced, of course, if someone just eats one or you fast or whatever, we get to open up a drawer and have it filled with clothes. There are so many moments. I'm just thinking I cleaned my entire apartment today. I actually needed it. Uh, Going back, it's like, yeah, I have indoor plumbing. I have dishes that hold my food. All these little things, and I love that. And I love to incorporate. It's like, I do have a space that is peaceful, that is calming, that I light way too many candles because why the heck not? But just having that moment of gratitude, and I think that definitely goes a long way. How are you incorporating that with your children? Is there resistance of you're okay?
I am so sorry. I had YouTube on in the
Well, that's okay.
background, started yelling at me. Did you hear it?
No, I did not.
I couldn't be cool to, to turn.
You're okay. Yeah, we can edit all this out. That's the power of the edit button.
Also, you
Not
can
a
leave
problem.
it because it's real life.
You know what? It's true. It's true. Why edit? Why edit real life? So good. So yeah, how have we incorporated, the magic with your children and, cleaning their rooms or dishes or stuff like that? How can we help our younger ones to kind of be in tune more with those moments and not making them feel so much like chores or we have to do this, we have to do that.
First, I don't try too hard because the more I feel like I would try to push it on them, the more they would resist. So I try to really just lead by example in terms of sharing what I'm doing and why I'm doing things. And then I definitely don't want to like push somebody to be grateful for something. Like how when we talk about being grateful, it's like we realize that we're grateful. But when someone
Oh,
is sad or doesn't want to do the laundry, if I were to be like, well, you should be grateful for these, that's not going to work. So one of the other things I do with it is like intention. So if I'm like making my coffee, I'll be very mindful and present about what I'm doing. And I think about what do I want more of in my life or what do I want to release from my life? And then I use the little coffee stirrer and I'll turn it clockwise if I want to bring something into my life, and I'll turn it counterclockwise if I want to release something. And just those little physical ritualize making coffee, and it seems to work.
that's good. I like that. Often enough, we don't take those moments of we always want to like expel something, get rid of bad energy, bad vibes. And I wonder if we're doing that more than we are like welcoming in good things. And I know that I'm guilty of not holding the space to welcome in the good as much, whether that's the limiting belief that I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough for it, probably all the above and then some. When it comes to self-love and understanding the brevity and the importance of it, what happens on, I don't want to say the other side, but what happens over time as we start noticing what's happening in our self-awareness of, oh, this is what it looks like to be kind to myself? Have you seen that show up for you?
I think I operate at just a more relaxed frequency.
Mm, yeah.
There's a comfort in being able to give yourself grace and kindness. And it comes with accountability. You know, you can't just always be like graceful and kind. You have to hold yourself accountable to your own standards and goals and things. I find it showing up just in that my inner voice is no longer an enemy. My inner voice is
That's
someone
good.
that
Yeah.
loves me the way I love my kids, the way best friends love each other and good partners love each other. My inner voice cares for me now when it didn't before in a way. I'm going to pause right here also and fix the light.
Right ahead.
Okay, there I am.
And I think what you just did is there's something there, right? We can sit in the dark, whatever darkness that might be, right? Whether it is a complete loss of something, someone, or just a season where we feel stuck, or it just kind of seems like everything is against us, right? And we could just choose to sit in that. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that is the choice that needs to be made. And then sometimes there's like, you know what? No matter what's going on in my life, I can choose to turn on the light. So that just
I
kind
like
of
that.
spoke to me
Good.
as we're just living life, right? And I'll keep all of this in the episode because why the heck not?
Yeah.
That's the problem with like podcasts and shows. Like everything is so perfect because we're so used to everything just looking clean and
Listen,
almost being
bring
unattainable.
back the MySpace days and the fuzzy phone photos. I'm here for it.
Heck,
I like when
yes.
Snapchat first came out and it was like, oh my gosh, it's totally unfiltered.
I do use filters so that I don't look like Snow White all the time. Because that's just the complexion I have. And I'm like, let me see what I look like with a tan.
I'm not mad at filters
Yeah,
by
I
any
think
means. I like the rawness of social media before things were highly produced. And I'm fine with highly produced stuff. It's nice. It's good quality, but I like these just candid conversations too.
absolutely. There's something real and relatable, and this is about as real and relatable as it gets, right? Of just showing up and as yourself. So turning on the light. I love it. We're going to incorporate that. Ooh, that should be a t-shirt. What do you think? Just a little little cute little lamp with the little plugs because I love the little plugs that are like from the old time ones, and it says you can turn on the light. I love it.
Right.
What also is it about magic that we can believe in again in a world where there's a lot going on from every which way? Magic almost seems like a little hug, that can kind of come in and surround ourselves with when stuff doesn't make sense, let's turn to something that maybe does, or at least it just makes sense. So, yeah, talk about that for a little bit.
So that's a really good question. I like that. I would say I have all the words. They're just scattered. But
I hear you.
it's like you're making me think of things in ways that I hadn't thought of them before. It's it's really nice because it kind of like opened something, like, oh, there's a perspective I hadn't considered. But then it's like, well, I don't have it.
Yeah.
I've never talked about this before. I don't have the words yet. Let me go write it down.
There you go. That's okay.
But
And it's
I
okay
would
to not have
say
answers for things.
that I don't. No, I don't. But I'm trying to think of what do I do? How does this help? And it's like, first off, I don't get too deep into if it's real or not. I care if it's helpful. And for
Yeah, that's
me,
good.
like doing rituals in my everyday, setting intentions with the things I do, adding whimsy where we can. Because it's like, remember when you're kids and everything is loud and bright? When I take my kids to the pediatrician, I'm like, why isn't my doctor's office more like this? This is fun to look at.
Mhm.
So I try to bring that kind of stuff. That to me, that's magic. And so when I bring it into my life, first off, it feels good to me. It is helpful for me. So if you weren't to find it helpful, I wouldn't encourage you to do it. And then when I think about the state of the world and I look back in the past, 20 or 30 years, all of the fiction that I read is dystopian. When I look back at the religion and politics of my childhood, it has all been dystopian. And then I look at where we are, and while it doesn't look anything exactly like what they have said, it's kind of like, well, here we are in this dystopia that everybody's been talking about. So maybe we talk about a utopia. Maybe we talk about a
Yeah, there you go.
maybe we talk about a new kind of society. Maybe we talk about good things. Maybe we don't read the Hunger Games. Maybe we read the satiated games, the abundance games. We have more and everything's going around wonderfully and our leaders are amazing. Instead of it being like, even the ones you think you can trust, you can't, maybe we start picturing a better future and maybe we'll get to see it. Maybe magic is that real.
That's good. Myndee, that's good. I like that a lot. The satiated games. Someone write that series, please. I love that so much. I love that. That was good. You're so right. I have read a couple dystopians in my life as well. And I'm like, yeah, the parallels are right there, right? Well, I've said for years too, like we're living in the future that we think it's, 50 years ahead. Like we're here.
Yeah.
Like the present is the future in this wild, weird kind of way. And so there is something I think about, like, I like the word whimsy, like just putting something in the universe, kind of like what you put in, you put out. But even just having that little bit of magic or hope or something to like keep you going, instead of focusing on doom and gloom, which is so easy because it is as if everyone does it. And we're not really given a good role model of, hey, this is what it looks like, to hope and like put that into real action and like make every day just special. I think we're onto something with this t-shirts, with the books. Myndee, we're doing
Definitely.
something here today.
I like
And this
it.
is wonderful. So as we are approaching like this new year, 2026, which is just like wild to believe. When I was a kid, like the 2020s was like, this is nuts. And here we're almost out of it, which is like terrifying. What's a good way to kind of start our year? And we can start it whether it's January 1st, June 1st, November 1st, really doesn't matter. How can we set an intention to have more whimsy and magic in our lives? Like, why is that so important to kind of start the new year off with, like, setting a good intention?
Well, it's just because in our culture, in American culture, it's the time, right? Different cultures have different New Year's and different times, but we've grew up with New Year's resolutions and we have not completed most of them. But an intention, it's a lot less pressure, right? So it's the time of year to do it, even though cyclically it isn't. You probably would want to do that in the spring, maybe even the fall. But
Hmm.
the dead of
Yeah.
winter
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
kind of a weird time to start something new. But since
That's true.
since we're
That's
conditioned
true.
to, and our calendar tells us this, it is a good time. And especially now because there is a lot of suffering in the world. And I have no doubt that you and me and everyone listening has our own version of suffering, and it's all real and it's all valid.
Hmm.
And then there's the macro stuff that we can see
Hmm.
that no matter where you fall on the spectrum, it's like, well, things aren't good. We can argue about who to blame or what to do, but we can all agree that things are rough for most people, a lot of us,
Hmm.
in some way or another.
Yeah.
And when you bring presence, magic, intention, whimsy into your day to day life, it means you don't have to escape what you're doing. And then
Mm.
all we have really are these moments. All we have is the right now, whatever that right now is, because our right now on Friday night is different than the right now that the listeners have. But they have that, this right now is all we have. And so why not do our best to appreciate it, be present for it, enjoy it, that
Mm.
kind of thing, as much as possible. Again, with nuance.
Good. Exactly right. That's so good. And just like that, eh, I can't even believe that our time is coming to an end. It's like we just started. Um, I get to this moment and I was like, no, we have to stay on forever,
I
which is perfect. So we'll jump on. We'll do this again sometime. But
love
as we're
that.
wrapping up here, yes, in some capacity, right? As we're ending 2025, getting into 2026, I'll ask, do you have an intention for the new year? And then kind of what is next for you, and how do you see your story, continuing to unfold with a new year ahead?
See, once again, something I have not pondered. I love this. I love it.
Myndee, I'm here for you.
It's really good for me. I would like to, and I'm not really waiting for the new year. Like, I want to do this more. I have a daughter with like a recently diagnosed chronic illness that has changed everything for us. And it's gonna require more of my time, money, and energy that I don't have when I'm working a full-time job that, makes ends meet, but doesn't provide that extra. So I know I'm gonna need to supplement my income. I'd love to eventually or sooner rather than later replace it. But I
Hmm.
also am very mindful of the state of things. And so I'll always have sliding scale, pay what you can type of things available, you know? But I want to kind of get that organized. Right now, I'm sort of the witch in the woods that people find and I do stuff, but I know that without putting myself out there, without doing getting on, shows like this, connecting with people like you, publishing my website, all the things, it's not going to grow. So I have to be intentional about it growing. And that is honestly something that, I was, like I said, on track and building before, and now doing it different as a widow and with, just different circumstances. It's challenging, but wonderful. And I think that you just sparked an idea to write some version of the satiated games, but to it be, it probably, I'm not that clever in terms of fiction writing, but it would probably be like, how do we, let's think about a better future. What do we want it to look like? What could it be? And maybe something like that'll be on the agenda for next year. And so I'll have to add you in the ignore.
Not to add more to your plate, but
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic.
beautiful.
Even if it's a page, a paragraph, a sentence. What does it smell like? What are the sounds that you hear? Just kind of always putting us in a just a better mindset of like, hey, this is what could be, rather than always just kind of staying in what is. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Myndee, thank you for your time today, and also just want to honor you with your story and that every single bit matters. I don't believe that anything's wasted. And even though it doesn't look like we thought it would, I do the thing that I still carry with me. I don't know if it's from a previous faith background or not, but the best is yet to come. There's good always coming for us. I truly believe that. So I wish all the best to you. I can't wait to read the Satiated Games, whatever that happens to look like. Next time they'll be on here promoting it. So, here we go. Speaking out into the manifest that.
Love it.
Yes. But thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, give it a rating and review while you're at it. It really goes a long way. And check out the show notes for all the ways to stay connected with me and our guests. Until the next episode.